Chapter 1 Birthing of a God. Smoldering ashes lay at my feet like freshly fallen snow. I look around and see the armaments of another fallen comrade, battered and rent from a beast slumped over a foot away. The large creature, four-legged, clawed, gray in complexion, and faceless, lay motionless on the ground. 4 tendrils protrude from its head, like the mother it spawned from, and sickly webbed wings clung to its arms like honey. We called them Kalbisi, a horrid creature that every so often roamed around the thoroughfare. This simple-minded creature slaughtered a fellow watcher. I kneeled down and scooped up the ashes into a jar, tying it to my waist, the 5th of its kind. "How many more are there?" asked my friend Haval. He looks at me with deep brown eyes inlaid on faintly glowing pale skin. "That was the last of them," he says, intently examining the fallen monster. "This creature almost managed to get away, it seems, but our watcher managed a fine slice across its neck and a few arrows into its back before he dusted." Haval reaches under his black coat, garnished with a cape of jet black feathers, and pulls out a large knife from his waist belt. With one clean slice, he frees the neck from the body. "Perhaps our comrade would like a trophy upon his return," he says. "Perhaps he would," I agree. Haval ties the head to his waist belt, adding it to the collection of trinkets, accessories, and weapons stored there. "There's been an increase in these creatures lately." "It's not what you're thinking," he tells me. "How can you be so sure? At any moment, the queen of the grove can decide to change the terms of the arrangement." Haval shakes his head as though reading my mind and walks towards me, placing one hand on my shoulder to calm my nerves. "Trust me," he says with a slight grin on his 30-year-old face, concealing the additional 270 years of age. A vision seer knows the way of things. "You're probably right." While I may believe his claims, the thought still lingers on the back of my mind, and then it appears at the edge of the forest, a figure floating gently off the ground, wearing a shirt and waistcoat. While I may have worn the clothes of a person, it most certainly bore no claim. Sprouting from the bottom of his shirt, where normally one expected legs, are large tendrils writhing and twisting as though they had a mind of its own. He, too, was gray in complexion, with a large mouth that extended to the corners of his oval face, and large yellow eyes that bulged at the sides of his skull. Like the fallen monster, smaller tendrils extended from the tip of his skull. This creature, a guardian of the grove, probably comes with a message. It approaches us slowly, like a ghost wandering in the night. "What brings you so far from your home, guardian?" I ask. The creature makes a slight bow, keeping his hands folded in front. "Good evening, gentlemen." Was that a joke? It is early morning. "My queen offers her deepest sympathies for the tragic events that occurred last night. Some of her more temperamental children escaped recently, and seem to have taken a liking to your kind." "We will recover," Haval assures him. They were easy words to say, but so much harder to believe. Every death can be the last, and every watcher holds a great deal of importance to the survival of humanity. "What has the queen been up to, making these more unstable children?" I ask. The creature's mouth curls into a smile 3 times too large, and eyes widen in excitement. "Experimentation, as always. Is that not the way we children come into existence?" "Most Kalbisi do not have wings, or the burgeoning of wings. What sort of evolution does she plan?" "You think I know?" The creature brings a hand to his chest in a stance of innocence and shock. It knows perfectly well what I asked it, but dodges like always. "For your sake, pray you never find out the reasons behind her decisions. For once you know, death soon follows. All you really need to understand is that we hold no qualms with your people. As long as you continue to bring the sacrifices in a timely manner, we will continue to focus our attentions on other areas. Is this acceptable?" "Yes," Haval says without hesitation. The creature turns its head to me, holding an eager smile bearing several tiny serrated teeth. "Yes, I agree." Then I thank you for your time. The creature bows once more and floats off, a leaf in the wind. I stand waiting for it to completely disappear beyond the tree line before turning to my friend. It's about time we head back, I say. He nods in agreement. Together we pick up the fallen armaments, in total a purifier blade, light leather armor, a shield, a crossbow, and boots. The soldier carried very little with him, probably never imagining his day would end up the way it had. We load the equipment into a cart and ride off for home. The thoroughfare is a large circular area of meadows. It extends wide and tall, but could be circled in an hour and a half. The morning patrol ends without conflict, and we make the climb up a large mountain path that led to Sunset Ridge. As the name suggested, it is a place of never-ending sunset. At the top, we watchers make our base. At the entrance to the ridge, we built wooden fortifications and barricades in the event of an attack. Past the gate are small shacks and homes for herbalists and residents. Watchers and Lightblessed usually took up residence nearest to the thoroughfare entrance, while Vision Seers slept further away or in the temple, which sits at the tallest point of the ridge to the north. It is there we ride, giving the order for other watchers to patrol. The temple looms over us, a towering giant. With few resources available to us, we put into the structure. It holds the forge, the flame, and the Elder Vision Seer to guide us. We crafted the structure out of marble and supported it under strong columns. We paved the walkways with stone and made them wide enough for 2 carriages to comfortably travel side by side. The temple stands on the edge of a cliff, overlooking a black fog, leading into an endless abyss. Often we wondered what lay within such a place. At the mountain's base, surely we could travel north, past the dangers, and venture a curious glance. But why take the risk? In my 3 centuries of life, I have only seen a handful of people attempt the journey, but they never returned. The temple stands above this evil, but not out of sight. We bring the cart to the back entrance, where the equipment room is. I take out each armament carefully with my friend and place them in piles separated by their owner. It took a few trips back and forth, but we eventually managed. When we finished, we walk further into the temple and head to the top for the flame. 5 dead in one night, Haval murmurs along the way. 3 of them from the Queen and her experiments. How careless to let such dangerous creatures roam free, I reply. Although, it might be our fault. My mind goes back to the faces of the previous night's patrol. They were only in their 20s, mostly fresh from the city. We should have sent them out with 1 veteran. The Grand Vision Seer wanted them to learn by experience. They've learned. Haval believes in more of a trial-by-fire approach to things. But I still believe careful training makes careful soldiers. In my youth, I say, I wasn't allowed to go on night patrols for a whole year. And even then, I had the supervision of a Lightblessed and veteran watcher. This new generation needs to be trained quicker than before. Every year we receive fewer and fewer recruits. At this rate, I know, I interrupt. I know well what he is implying. Monsters seem to keep growing stronger while we keep growing weaker. And while I agree with him, I refuse to hear the words. Morale needs to always be kept up. If one person feels the fatigue of battle, it would spread like a plague and infect all of our soldiers. And in that event, we would all succumb to the same fate as the implication suggested. But another fear holds strong in my mind, one that I dare not share to others. For to share such a thing would be a damning blow to my own heart should it prove true. We keep silent, ascending the steps. The middle chamber in the highest hallway, which overlooks the temple from balcony on high, means our arrival at the flame. We enter into the room, calm and collected. Reviving our fallen comrades is nothing new. The entire space is a large circular room, with a flame that burns taller than 3 men at the center. Columns, all perfectly lined up surrounding the perimeter, splitting the room into a portion containing the flame and a balcony overlooking the endless sea of black fog, Tiat Salambaru, below. On both ends of the room are stairs ascending to the top level of the temple. 1 Vision Seer sat before the flame with legs crossed, lost in deep meditation. He was Raltamaru. I hand Haval 2 flasks and walk with him towards the center of the room. As we walk, the Vision Seer, pale and sporting long locks of black hair, opens his eyes and stands. "Reigniting the spirits of our warriors?" he asks me. I smile underneath my helmet and nod. There is still more work to be done. "Very well." Ralte steps away from us and extends a hand to the flame, gesturing for us to proceed. "Feed their ashes to the flame." As instructed, Haval and I take flasks and toss ashes into the flame. And after tossing the ashes, we watch them shape themselves into humanoid form, flames twirling about into flesh. 5 people step from the flame, 2 women and 3 men, naked like Anan made them. "Welcome back, Watchers," I say. They look around, confused. I remember that feeling from when I was a fledgling Watcher. I remember my first death and all the pain associated. I remember clinging on to the last of my existence before I found myself in a place of grey mist, only to reawaken before the flame. I experienced the phenomena many times. "Where was I?" the shortest Watcher asks. A boy in his early 20s with short blonde hair. He looks like someone fresh out of a pond. "Simply put, dead," I say. "However, between this world and the world hereafter, there exists a space where the soul goes on the path to the afterlife. With the way we are, we cannot pass on since our bodies are still tethered to this world." "So the Elder wasn't exaggerating? We're immortal?" he asks, naive. I look to Haval, who looks back at me with a grim expression. "In a sense," I say to the recruits. "I'm not lying. We are immortal, but that immortality comes with a steep price in the form of a curse." I see the look of confusion spreading across their young faces and dismiss their worries with a wave of my hand. The Vision Seer hands out robes to the young Watchers. "Your equipment is in the armory at the base level. See to it," I tell them. They gratefully dress in their robes and make for the armory, leaving the room. I turn to leave with Haval when Ralte clears his throat to ask for attention. "Malikaus," he says to me, "there is one thing you are needed for." Haval bows. "I will help the recruits reattune their magic." With that, he made his leave. "What am I needed for?" I ask Ralte. "Elder Tagaeus wishes to speak with you. She awaits above." "Very good, Vision Seer Maru." I bow to show my respect and ascend one of the spiraling stairwells in the corners of the room. The topmost floor of the temple was where the Keeper of the Flame, Elder Tagaeus, resides. That room is her meditation room. Unlike the floor below, there is no balcony, just a large window at the back of the room to let in light. The sky never changes, and so design was quite easy. Bookshelves line much of the walls, containing records of elders from before. Between the shelves and the empty areas, the Elder herself painted the walls and ceilings, depicting moments in history and visions she might have gleaned. In the center of the room, where she created a small pit to burn a large pile of incense, the Elder sits with a flame before her, small like a simple bonfire. She wears a heavy cloak of furs over a black robe. Her face is obscured by the skeletal mask of a fallen beast with horns, belonging to an Erdal. Long graying hair frames her face. "I wondered when you would arrive," she says. "Here I am now. What is it you require of me?" "Have a seat." She gestures for me to sit opposite to her before the flame, which I happily oblige. "I would offer you the pleasantries of tea or bread, but I fear this matter requires a more serious note." She speaks sternly. Something in her visions most assuredly spooked her. Had she seen her death? Or perhaps she saw the fall of the Watchers. "What have your visions told you?" I ask. Her head turns to the fire. Even obscured by the indifferent skull of the Erdal, I feel her worries. "I dreamt of a face of fire. In 1 week's time, the red sun will come upon us. A new god will be born into this world, and with it, new troubles." Thoughts raced about my skull, recalling the problems caused by the Queen of the Grove. If the Watchers before me had stopped her, we wouldn't have had to give up so much ground to the monsters. Sunset Ridge is our last stand against the enemy. Failure meant the absolute end. Where shall we make our stand? I ask. The Blackwoods, she answers with a grave expression. Take 27 veteran watchers, 5 light blessed, and 5 vision seer supremes. I visioned a creature of flames, small at first, but sure to grow. What magic have you attuned to yourself? It was the same as it had been for 5 decades. I can't remember until I searched within myself, facing my power. I hold within me 10 bolts of lightning, 10 charges of flamethrowers, and 5 fireballs. Needless to say, I will be at a disadvantage. I wonder about the effectiveness of our pure fire weapons. They will work, I say with my sternest voice, trying to evoke strength in myself more than anything else. I will stop the birth of this god. With that resolution, I begin making preparations. For the rest of the day, I mobilize my team, and we train for the coming fight. The recruits watch from the sidelines, unable to join. After a long day of work, I take a break on the southern edge of the encampment, overlooking the areas beyond my watch to safety. The outside world always looks so beautiful. There are lime green flatlands, rolling hills, the city far in the distance, and a sun that brings both night and day. They make the job worth it. Every day I fight to keep them safe, and every day I know at the very least that I am doing something worthwhile. I continue eating my stew, boiling over a small fire, when I hear the crunching of boots walking up the mountain. I turn to the path, which runs by my spot, and I see a woman appear. She wears light armor for hunting and carries a spear, sword, and small shield on her person under a cloak. She is blonde, with fair skin, light blue eyes, and wears her hair in a braid draping gently from her right shoulder. I wonder who she is. Normally only recruits and Sura visit us, but the time of recruits passed, and her skin lacks the faint, translucent glow of the Sura. She must have noticed my gaze because she turns to me and walks over. "Saleh," she says with a smile. Ubisu Great Divide." I know she speaks the language of the outside world, but I hadn't the mind for such vernacular. Learning tongues that didn't extend beyond the mountains is pointless. "Nyahai," she continues, hoping to find matching language. Perhaps it is mean of me to keep her guessing, but I am curious to know how many greetings she can conjure up. "Yasu," she tries again. I shake my head, trying not to laugh. I suppose she's suffered enough. "Hello," I finally say. She looks at me surprised. "You speak the common tongue? Way out here?" I speak the first language, and the language frequented by the majority of people. There is reason it is called common. She laughs, strangely enough. I did not intend a joke. "Is this the Great Divide?" she asks me. It is an odd question. No one calls Kerietu the Great Divide, unless I suppose they came from quite a long distance. Which I suppose she most certainly has. Besides, it should have been obvious by the impassable mountain ranges where she ended up. "This is the place you seek," I say politely, keeping my curiosity at bay. It is not my place to judge the actions of others. She thanks me and then turns to leave. A word of caution. I see her weighing the words in her head before she stops. There is no place for outsiders. However, if you're determined to be here, go see the elder. She can help you. The woman nods. I'll keep that in mind. She continues walking on the path uphill, fading from view. Whatever misfortune brought her here, I hope she will leave it behind and not burden us with her troubles. After I spend enough time on break, I continue training. Before going to sleep, I begin to wonder what happened to that mysterious woman. I have not seen her the entire rest of the day. Perhaps she went home without me noticing. I only hope she hadn't made a rash decision and ventured into the valley. But rather than ponder too long on her whereabouts, I go to sleep. When I wake up in the morning, Haval is looking through my trunk at the foot of my bunk bed. Can I help you find something? I ask him. He continues rifling through my belongings, not even managing a glance in my direction. I certainly hope so, he says. Do you still have that book of herbs I gave you? He can't be talking about the book he loaned me 7 months ago to ease a day of boredom. I barely remember what I did with it. I thought I gave it back to you, I say. I thought so as well, but I can't find it. Does it matter? I ask. I suppose not, he says with a sigh. His words say one thing, but his defeated tone and slumped shoulders say another. Didn't you write that book? Why would you need a copy? He stops rummaging through my belongings and takes a moment to stretch. In our quiet barracks, I hear the sound of tired grumbling and now realize that our conversation might be disrupting the sleep of our fellow comrades. The elder requested the book. I'm assuming it has something to do with that woman. That piques my interest. You saw her too? I did. The elder is hosting her for the week. I think she means to keep the woman from wandering into the valley while we handle the birthing of the god. And after that? Wall raised an eyebrow as though unsure of why I asked such a question. Does the elder intend to let her wander into Kerietu? I clarify. I've got no clue, he shrugs in his casual manner I've grown so accustomed to. Anyhow, I suppose I should inform the elder I can't acquiesce to her guest's needs. Catch you later. As soon as he leaves, I sigh and prepared for morning duties. 1 week will fly by. Finally, the night arrives. Our sky, forever branded by a setting sun, grew dark. Thick gray clouds billowed overhead and blotted out the sun in the darkest hues. From the cracks, red streaks cast their light upon us as though to warn of the coming blood. I waited with my fellow soldiers at the bottom of the ridge before the entrance to the thoroughfare as their leader. The men looked at me with focused eyes. Even as I turn around, I feel their gaze burning a hole through the back of my skull. Haval stands by my side, and that gives me some strength. But knowing the enormity of our mission weighs heavily on my shoulders. I still worry. Should we fail today, we fail the world. Don't look so stiff, Fall says to me, patting me on the shoulder. We'll win this one. I take his words of encouragement to heart. I lead my men to the Blackwoods. The night is dark. We hold torches firmly in our hands to bring even the dimmest of light to guide our way. And as we reach the edge of the Blackwoods, the clouds part enough for us to view the sky. A blood-red sun, eclipsed, painted the sky canvas crimson. When the eclipse ended, the god would be fully born, and our time would be up. Dark fog spews from the Blackwoods as though warning us to back away. Ignoring the warning, though, we march forward, blades at the ready. Although monsters often hid during the birthing of a god, we kept our blades close in case of a sudden ambush. It is said that when the Queen of the Grove was being birthed, she brewed herself inside a watcher, like a parasite, and fed off his body to grow in power and intelligence. Funnily enough, the elder claims it was that same act performed multiple times that gave the queen her ability to reason with us in her early days. We trudged through the forest, too thick with fog to make heads or tails of anything. Our light allows us to see each other and maybe a foot or two in front of ourselves, but nothing more. I am the blind leading the blind, yet I remain vigilant. When I feel a branch underfoot or any large object, I make sure to mention it and avoid it. It keeps me going until I see something light up in the darkness, a flame shining brighter than all of our torches put together. The forest ahead of us is burning. The fire is so strong that it permeates the dark without any trouble. This may be it, I say to my squad. The elder warned me of a face of fire. I feel the nervous tension rise. My hair stand on ends and blood chills as we reach a conflagration, burning a thick wall before us. My comrades, aside from Haval, look at me like a man without sanity. Will they not brave the flames? Will they allow a new god to rise simply to avoid getting burnt? Keep marching, men, I say, mustering as much confidence as my voice will allow. They seem reluctant to charge forward, as though fire alone could kill us. I need to be an example. Snuffing my torch, I take the first steps between burning trees and forest, sweating heavily under my helmet. Haval stands before me, creating a barrier of black energy around us. I nod my gratitude and continue forward. The rest, I hope, will follow. Suddenly the problem of sight reverses itself. I see everything, but the flames are so bright and omnipresent that I only see fire intermixed with thick smoke. And yet I continue forward, knowing my best friend stands with me. Is this the face of fire the elder spoke of? Did she mean her words to strike metaphorically rather than literally? And if she meant them metaphorically, would that mean the god was swallowing us right now? Have I unwittingly fallen for a trap? I'm such a fool. In all my experience, I failed to see so obvious a trap as this. My comrades were right to be afraid. But this is no time for doubt. If I have fallen in the trap, I should continue forward, for I will be dead either way. We walk for another 10 minutes, when a modicum of hope mixed with heavy despair comes over me. I see a bright wall of fire, this time contiguous in its design. They burned whole and united, slowly moving outward, turning trees to ash and dirt to igneous rock. Without Haval's barrier, I assuredly wouldn't feel confident to walk through it, but with it, I take the necessary steps and appear at the edge of a cleared forest area. Around me is an entire perimeter of igneous rock, contained by a large wall of flame covering the perimeter. In the center of it all, a quarter of a mile away, I see a small ball of fire. This is the god. I know it in my bones. The other watchers and vision seers appear from the flames, some protected by barriers and some braving the heat without protection. Those without protection roll and jump around like frantic ants. Were we not in so dire of a predicament, I may have dared to laugh, but I wait, allowing them to take the necessary time to be ready. Taking on a god alone is suicide. It takes 5 minutes for everyone to be fully prepared. I see their weapons drawn and bodies stiff. Archers, I command. Keep to the rear. Shields, take lead. By my command, our attack party forms. 5 members with thick, wide purifier shields take lead, while 10 archers stay in the back, maintaining some distance. The excluded soldiers and me take the middle, keeping the vision seers safely behind the shields. We approach the center slowly. The ball of fire remains still, hopefully unaware of our presence. We manage a few more steps when I see a streak of light mark me as a naive fool. A mass of the deepest blue flame zoomed from the ball of fire and burst against one of our shields. The creature sees us, apparently. As though to further demonstrate its power, the ball of fire takes form. Igneous rock bond around the flame into humanoid form, and we face a creature that looked to be a man birthed from a volcano. The wall of fire around us turns a deep blue, as do flames that burst from the creature's head. We walk closer, 20 paces away, when it tilts its head. While we are figuring it out, is it doing the same to us? I don't plan on waiting for such an answer. Take aim, I tell the archers. They draw back their bowstrings and ready their arrows. Fire, I say. A volley of arrows flies overhead towards the creature. They find their mark and pierce its skin from head to toe. Yet the beast still stands, unperturbed by the attack. Prepare another volley, I say. But before they can fully prepare, the beast screeches a deafening sound. Horror engulfs my vision as I witness little creatures of fire, igneous rocks at their core, sprouting from all over the wall of flame. It traps us in its arena. They move fast and will be upon us in half a minute's time. Fan out, I yell. Shields, keep your front to the god. Archers, split fire. As I call out orders, I witness a ball of fire arc overhead and crash into an archer. The archer screams, and right before my eyes, his body cracks red and then turns to ash. 3 of you on me, I yell as I charge the beast. We run toward the god, but it is clever. In a burst of blue flame, it vanishes and reappears from one of its creatures. The blue, sprite-like creatures surround us. Arrows fly and pierce through them. Assuaging my fears, I watch the creatures burst into nothingness by the touch of a pure fire weapon. They can be killed. Flame sprites jump around like fleas and dodge our attacks. When enough of them manage to close in, they jump on a fellow watcher and combine into one flame that turns the watcher to ash. We lose 2 more soldiers to the sprites. My interest lay with the god, but whenever I approach, he moves to another sprite. Our forces are too small to reach the entire arena, and yet we need to try. Haval uses concentrated energy to blast away hordes of sprites, but still they grow in numbers. Too many creatures sprout from the flames. "Don't lose hope, Malikaus," Haval says to me. "Can you clear a path to the god?" I ask, as they nimbly dodge sprites from retaliating in sweeping strikes. "I can try," he replies. I watch him concentrate and fire a beam of dark energy from his staff into a line of sprites. Doing my best to aid him, I feel power well up inside of me, and using a charge of lightning, I produce bolts of electricity from my offhand. The bolts strike the cores of the sprites, and they vanish before my eyes. Many of the watchers fight in groups of 2, spread far out from each other. They know the mission. I know the mission. I am in a furnace, sweating from head to toe, wondering when I might be baked. But I must put away such thoughts. This is a time of focus. My target, the creature of fire, stands only a stone's throw away, launching balls of flame at my ally. All around me I see a field of blue fire, almost blinding in its sapphire light. I run towards my target with Haval by my side. Sprites jump at us, but our instincts take over and we dodge around them, firing bolts of lightning or a beam of energy to clear those in our way. The creature sees us coming, and I watch him absorb some sprites into a large ball of flame, power in the palm of his hand. The creature tosses the flame our way. Haval, thinking fast, brings up a barrier, catching the attack just before it manages to burn us. The flame crashes around the barrier with a loud thud that sends little waves of fire into the air. More sprites try to intercept us. I swing for their cores and watch them turn to mere embers. Nothing will stop my advance. Even more sprites try to encumber me. They grab at my legs and swarm me, but Haval has my back. He knocks them off with precise strikes of his staff, destroying the cores when able. I carve more of a path, and finally, I reach the creature, floating slightly above the ground, emanating a powerful aura of fire. The creature doesn't run away. It stares me down with its flaming blue eyes, sizing me up like a predator its prey, but I have no intention of becoming sustenance for a more powerful foe. I prepare to strike and stand ready for a lunge, but am surprised when the creature floats away, back with ferocious speed. The sprites nearby burst and merge into a circle of fire that surrounds us, 20 feet at most in diameter. Haval and I stand on one side, the creature on the other. It means to isolate us and eliminate us quickly. Flames from the circle rush into his hands, creating more fireballs. He tosses them at us with too much speed to properly dodge in time. I fumble sideways while Haval forms a shield around himself. The flame grazes my armor, which if not pure fire, would surely be melted. I charged forward, going for a quick finish, but the fireballs came at me too quickly and constantly. I was struck square in the chest and fly back a foot before crashing hard against the ground. Haval, forming a new barrier for each volley of fireballs, makes his way over to my position. I know he must be feeling taxed. Using so much magical energy without rest is surely going to knock him out soon. I must not waste so much time. The creature, seeming to feel my desperation, changes its tactics. Once Haval protects us both, the creature focuses fire into one flamethrower, bearing down on the 2 of us. Even from behind the barrier, I felt the oppressive rays threaten to turn us to slag. "We have to push through this," I tell Haval. "I'm not sure how much longer I'll be able to hold them off. We need to make a move." He helps me to my feet while maintaining his barrier. We push forward against the fire, but progress is slow. Then, I notice something grim. The red light from the sky seemed to be growing brighter. "We're running out of time," I tell Haval. "Our window is closing." The creature, as though mocking my fears, stops attacking for a moment, and from his back, flames burst and writhe, forming 2 sapphire wings of fire. It shrieks hideously, leading up to the red night sky. This is our chance. The transformation process has it distracted. I jump from Haval's barrier and use as much energy as possible, channeling as many charges of my lightning to destroy the creature. I watch one large bolt fly from my fingertips and strike the monster hard in the chest. The monster flinches backwards, but holds firm in its position, while lightning attempts to pierce his body. Bolts spark off and strike other parts of his body, but still it holds firm. My power is draining. Lightning begins to weaken and fade like a wilting flower. Finally it dies, with but a whimpering spark. While I thought I failed, I noticed a few cracks appearing on its chest. It can be beaten. I begin to march forward, but the creature reacts again. It crosses its arms and curls into a ball like a baby. Their surrounding flames wrap themselves around him like a cocoon. Suddenly all the sprites turn to fire and rush towards it. I felt the waves sear my skin through the cracks in the armor. If not for Haval quickly rushing to bring a barrier around me, I was surely it would be dust. Looking around at what little I can see of the arena, I make out some of my fellow watchers, not lucky enough to have a vision sphere, turn to ash. So much fire brushes against the barrier, all rushing to the cocoon a mere 5 feet in front of me. If I leave the barrier, I die. If Haval walks with me, we'll move too slowly and a new god will be born. This is our last chance. I have to go, I tell Haval. What do you mean? He yells back over the sound of the rushing flames. I have to brave the flames. You're barely maintaining this barrier. If it breaks, you die. He shakes his head. If you go out there and fail, we probably won't be able to recover your ashes. I have to take this risk, Haval. He looks at me, gritting his teeth. Is he gritting in pain or frustration? I am unsure. Regardless, I have to go. Placing a hand on his shoulder, I say, don't drop this barrier and don't follow me. He closes his eyes to focus, maybe to just not see me go. You see me die what feels like 100 times, and he still acts like it's the end of the world. Although, even I still fear it a little. It's been so long since I've died, and every time the pain is different. I don't see myself surviving the flames, but I won't have to die alone. My eyes turn to the cocoon, floating above the ground with all of its power. I take the first steps outside the barrier, and immediately feel the weight of my actions. The fire threatens to knock me down. It presses against my body like a wave in the sea. Each step I take towards the creature, I feel like I'm going to sink into the rushing flames. But I get closer and closer. My clothing under the armor catches fire, and the skin nearest the cracks begins to bubble. I feel warts and a cold sting. My head grows light and my vision starts to fade, but I cannot yield. Standing before the cocoon, I pull out my sword with both hands. I fear trying to lift the blade with one won't be enough. Pointing the tip towards the center and placing my feet in a firm stance, I plunge the blade deep into its fiery embrace and feel it pierce something hard within. The flames continue rushing. With all my fading strength, I try to pull the blade to the side and cleave the creature in two. Great resistance pushes against me, but my resolve keeps me going with every last bit of my strength. I pull my blade until I feel myself overcoming the challenge. I pull just a little more, and finally, my blade breaks free of the resistance and cleaves its way out of the cocoon. The fire increases in ferocity, but something changes. The cocoon, rather than absorb the flames, starts flaring out waves of fire. Instability takes over. The cocoon expands and shrinks repeatedly until finally the flames all hold still before bursting in one large wave. I fly backwards and crash against the ground. The last thing I see before my vision fades to black is the creature's body fading into ash. From within, I feel my own body breaking down and melting from the inside. I am dying. Excruciating pain surges as my whole body heated up to temperatures impossible for human life. I am a living flame after all. Just like the creature, I too will be nothing more than dust. My skull cracks and my eyes pop, and finally, I feel nothing. The pain is so intense that I become numb to it. Slowly, my vision returns to me, but where I find myself is in a world of gray, like a box without end. However, unlike before, I noticed something different. This time, In front of me is what looks to be like a crack in glass. It was pure black within the crack. I am dead, but perhaps there are worse things.